Reuven's in there.
Oh, so he's on?
He's on.
He's on.
And a lot.
It's good for him. He needs to be warm. He needs that warm weather.
They take your dog with them. Who's taking care of the dog?
Probably needs a couple of people now.
Oh,
Not for you.
I don't have anything against the goats, but goats pooping on the floors of Yerushalayim is not for me.
You're right.
Welcome, Reuven.
I think
Enjoy the weather.
go around. Of course. Our family, we don't need it. But there's a lot of dogs you see all the time. See it, they're not good.
Okay, we're on. Did we put on the recording? I forgot if. Yeah, we put on the recording. Okay, so we're on Daf Nun Ches. Third wide line. Yeah, second wide line. Zika, that if it wasn't an onus that the animal fell into the Gina, it was an easy road to get into. And the owner didn't watch it, so he's responsible. And if it's mazik, it has to pay the damages. And there was a side point, mamish, a particular question about a certain thing is it considered an onus or not. He said that the owner is but if he watched it normally and it fell in, it wasn't expected to fall in. And if it went in, so then it's not an onus, then it's chayiv. So there was a particular question of something's considered an onus. He got into the field easily, and the owner should have been choshish for that he could go in there and deshain, be regal. But the mice, what happened? It didn't eat. But it made later, means it broke its water, so it was a pregnant sheep, and it broke its water, then the waters damaged the Paris. The made later. So did he have to expect that? There wasn't a question, is that considered an onus? How much you have to expect that a pregnant that's going to dafka then it's going to break the water and it's going to be mazik. I'll leave it man dama yourself a bonus chayiv lo tiboilach. Now the maisi was poshea because he should have been choshish for shem regular. He could have beat it. At the end happened in the onus. And because it's also the machmas says it's only close to self bonus if it's machmas l'pshia, here it is. If he would have taken care the animal shouldn't go into the field, it wouldn't have happened. But since he was closer to b'shia, that's why the onus happened. So that's the machlokes. Closer to b'shia, self bonus is chayiv or not. So if you hold closer to b'shia, self bonus is chayiv, so it's not a question like tibrach. They surely chayiv, even though it was an onus. Ki tibrach l'chaliv l'man da'ama closer to b'shia, self bonus is pater. Is this considered an onus? My we are meaning chibun that closer to b'shia, self bonus pater because he didn't have even though he was poshea, but the ma'isa the pshia didn't wasn't what happened. He didn't do shem v'rega. He the animal ruined the parents because of the made later. That was an onus. So should be potter. Odilma hakula b'pshia the chibun the kachazi the kreba lo lamela the boy living to this tamurei mina this tamurei begava. Turn the page top word. So Rashi says to us tamurei begava means the shomer. The shomer mi baba. You should have watched it. So the question is a very, very particular question. It doesn't. You have to know if it has an application. But how much is a owner of the animal that's pregnant towards the end of the pregnancy does have to be choshish that the water is going to break, and he should be more careful. He should be choshish that if the animal is going to go to somebody's fields, it might break the waters over there. So it's a very particular question. I don't know if it has an application. Everything has to be done for itself. Is it considered a onus or not? And then the
machlek is machlek since Svara.
I don't know. We didn't have mamish tatsugya, but we do hold chayiv. We hold closer which is stuff bonus is chayiv. And like Taisva says, that people with machmas abshia, if it came something else altogether, it would have happened anyway. So then also pater. But if the closer b'shia for self bonus and it was machmas the b'shia, so then we hold chayiv. Just for the tzak. I don't know the sugya. I don't know. We didn't have the sugya of itself. We just had applications of itself.
The water breaking, that's for animal, but a woman who's water breaking probably is more because more has to be more careful.
Because
Adam's more liable than animals. Okay.
But here we're talking about if it's an onus or not. I don't know at this point. The point that there's something that's called an onus, both by an animal, it's the same consideration.
But you know it's coming. She's the end of the 19th.
So it's coming. Yeah. So
I thought the pshat is the reason why the animal you might be kosher. You're not clear out of self to watch.
Because
you have less of a chiyuv shmira. But a person at the end of 9 months. And I'm just saying,
is it going to be considered an onus gomer? Even though it's Moshe not that it's an onus, but the question would be if it'd be an onus gomer or not.
Animals are not in 9 months.
Right, if every animal's different,
No.
right? That's.
I wrote like you said. I wrote. So you said. I wrote that the Gemara, since the Gemara is a question if it's a pshia or not, it's surely not going to be considered an owner's gomer. It's by the animal. The animal's part on the owners means that if the owner didn't have to watch it for that, he caught it. And the Gemara says that even by an animal, it's called a pshia. Question, even as a teku. And by Adam, the only thought to say that his part is going to be his owner's gomer. The more even has a thought that it's a pshia. So surely it won't be considered an owner's gomer. So surely a person will be chayiv.
Oh, very good, Bosh. Banti.
I'm just saying the point that a person's only put by known as gomer. The more surely doesn't consider known as gomer because even as it's odd, maybe it's a pshia. Okay. Case in Islam is Mashi Zika. So this sugya I don't know. I really don't know today's sugya. We'll try. The Mishnah said a kula on evaluating how much the damage was. It ate food. The animal ate food. That was the Mishnah on the beginning of the paragraph. With base. It says in the Mishnah, Kate said Mishnah is Mashi Zika. How do you assess how much it was mazik? So it says Shaman Beisa Bosa Sada Kama Isiyafa Vakami Yafa, that you don't evaluate how much the fruit are worth. It's not full fruit. Reb Shimon says if it's full fruit, it's ready ripe, ready to go, ready to harvest. So then you look at the fruit alone, how much is worth in the market. Tana Kama says as long as it's attached, you still don't evaluate the fruit itself. You evaluate how much the land became worthless, which is a big chiddush. You might say the pashas would be that how much would somebody pay to buy this? You have a half ripe tomatoes. You have to wait another couple of weeks till it's going to be ripe. How much would somebody buy it now?
Cheaper.
Yeah, but he would. Yeah, but there's a certain price. The Mishnah is much more makel than that. The Mishnah is much more makel that he does talk about how much the field is worth with these half-ripe tomatoes and how much it's worth without the half-ripe tomatoes. How much the field was depreciated because it's missing these half-ripe tomatoes. The pashas would have been that you go, how much someone's willing to buy. You put on the sale, I have half-ripe tomatoes for sale, but they can a couple of weeks, I need money now. How much they're willing to pay for it.
That's what we're talking about, the broken windows in the house.
Right. And we said, according to the Mishnah, that you go according to the building, how much the building is worth less. So that was a question to Achronim. But the Mishnah says that you don't have a cooler for the mazik. You don't pay how much the thing is worth. How much you have to pay to, okay, that's the request to pay to fix. You don't pay how much it's worth itself. How much someone would have to pay to put windows in. But how much the windows cost. But how much the building, the field is worth less because these pairs are missing. So that's a chiddush. A big cooler for the mazik. That you don't pay for, of course, you're not going to pay for whole ripe tomatoes, not ripe tomatoes yet, but you might have paid how much it's worth to buy unripe tomatoes, and it still have to wait. There's leave it in the field until it ripens. So the Mishnah says you have a cooler. The Mishnah is going to say that's the introduction. The Mishnah is going to say another cooler, and the question is if you see that in the Mishnah or not, and if it's true that is it's out to say that besides that, that's cooler number one, that you don't assess how much the fruit are worth, you assess how much the field is worth now less than it was before. One cooler number one. Second question is, how much field? You want to know how much the field was worth. How much? You wanted to sell just a square foot, a square yard, how much, when you wanted to sell the field, you want to know how much the field was worth. Which field? How much field? He ate 25 tomatoes. So you're just going to take this piece, you're going to cut out this piece of land that's 25 tomatoes, which is a couple of feet and a couple of meter, whatever. And then you're going to see if I wanted to sell this piece of land, that would be a very big chumrah. To sell a small piece of land like that costs a lot of money relative to how much it would be if it would have been part of a big field. So that's going to be a sugya also. How much field? I mean, you want to know the price of the field? How much? That's going to be the sugya also. So in general, this is much I got. I think this is in general the sugya. That there are two coolers, maybe both are in the Mishnah. One of them is showing the Mishnah. Surely the Mishnah says you don't evaluate the payros, you evaluate how much the field is worth less because the payros are not there. Then the question is also going to be how much field? Just the size of the field that he ate from, or a big field. He has acres and acres of field, and he ate a couple of tomatoes. So do you do how much the whole 30 acres is worth less because there are a couple of tomatoes? Of course not. I mean, of course, it's not worth anything. So those are two questions have to be explained. One is the Mishnah's point that you don't assess the payros, but you assess how much the field is worth less. Second point, how much field? How do you assess the field? How do you assess the field that it was worth before and that it is worth now? So that's the Gemara's thoughts. First of all, we're not immediately. How do you know? Maybe you're supposed to assess the fruit itself. Who says you?
Maybe what?
How do you know that you have this leniency that you assess the field, how much it's worth less,
Why
and
do you
that
call it leniency? I'm not quite getting the idea of leniency. I mean, what's a chumrah? What's a leniency?
if you pay less, it's a leniency. If you pay more, it's a stringency. So the mission says you don't go according to the size, the price of the fruit itself, which would be expensive. You see how much the field is worth less. If it was not full, if it was full, wasn't full. You can talk about full also. Tanakam was even if it was ripe fruit also. Shimon holds over there. You assess the fruit alone. How much is the market price? Okay, Tanakam holds even if it will be ripe fruit also. You see how much the field is worth less because it doesn't have these fruit. That's a leniency. How do you know? So we had the pasuk many times. That if you so the Pashut means just telling you where it was mazik, but the Gemara is going to say it's also telling you how do you pay. Not only that he was mazik in somebody else's field, but also wants to tell you how do you assess the nezek, the how much to pay. That you also assess how much he did because the sadaqah, not only the fruit that he ate, but how much the field. You assess an agav the field. The Gemara says we use this pasuk already. We know use it for different drushes. Hi for the pasuk shad. How you be able to say they'll be very little quicker rishus harabim. The pasuk shad has to tell you that they only chayiv in a sadaqah in somebody else's field, but if you ate in rishus harabim, you putter. So that's what the pasuk is used for. How can you use it for another drasha? The answer is we can't lift the bachman. It will be a b'sedei or should have said inami. Should have said ubiye sedei acher. What does it mean? An extra base b'sedei acher. My b'sedei acher. It must be for this drasha also. Shasham and Agav Sadach, to tell you this extra drasha that the way you evaluate it is Agav of the field, not of itself. The Gemara is very impressed. If that's the drasha, so maybe it's only for that. How do you know that the only chayiv in the Rishus Nizik, maybe chayiv in Rishus Rabim also? Maybe the whole drasha is coming to tell you this point that you assess the Nizik Agav the land. Rishus Rabim, how do you know that you're not chayiv if it's damaged in Rishus Harabim, the Pashup Shot? The answer is it should have said this point about B'Sdeyacher in the parsha where it talks in the part of the pasuk where it talks about that you have to pay. How do you pay in the payment? It's really a part of the payment process. How do you assess the payment? It should have said like this: Meitav Sadei, Meitav Kamma Yishalem B'Sdeyacher. I'm not sure what number one is over there. It's not a pasuk. It's making up a pasuk. It's saying it's no such pasuk. You have to take off the number one over here. It's not number one. It's an imaginary pasuk. It should have said, Meitav Savei, Meitav Kamo, Yishalem, B'Sleyacher. It should have said that. It should have said that he should pay Agav the other side. Since it says it, Klamali, the Kasvei, Rahman Agav how come it puts it in the part of the pasuk which is talking about what he's damaging? Shramina Tarti. So it's coming to tell you two halachas. One is the Pashup Shat will be a B'Sleyacher, that the damage was in the Sleyacher, not in the Rishus Harabim, only Rishus Nizik. Another point is going to be a drash to tell you that he's when you assess the damage, you assess how much the field is worth less, not how much the damage of the pairs itself. End of the sugya. Now goes a new sugya, and that was why I deduce that there's another kula of how much the field is worth. You want to know the field with pairs, the field without pairs, which field? Hechi Shamina. So I'm not sure if this is Rashi or Taishvis or some machlokes. I'm not sure. Very, very rough. When you want to know how much the field is worth, so you estimate a saw, and that doesn't mean a saw. You'd want to sell a saw, but not even a saw alone. Before I spoke about just the amount of land of the fruit that he ate, that's really not. But a saw b'shishim saw. How much a saw of this field would have been worth if you would have sold 60 saw? There might be a place someplace that says that all this is talking about when Itaka has big acres. He has a lot of.
That's the size of the field. It can take 60 saw of produce.
He has a huge field. He has 60. I'm saying it for maybe. I'm not sure if this is right shot. He has a huge field, 60 saw. He has maybe 100 saw even. But now we want to estimate how much would a saw be worth? How much would one base saw? A base saw is 50 by 50 amos. That's the size of a base saw. If you'd want to sell a base saw, it's also very expensive. Not only is the patch of 2 meters very expensive, you want to sell 2 meters of land, it's very expensive. But not only if you wanted to sell a space saw, which is 50 by 50 also is very expensive. So you make the cheshbon, if you would have wanted to sell 60 saw. 60 saws a lot, 2 base core. If you would have sold 60 saw, how much would the price be? And then you take that the saw is a 60th of that. So if the animal would have eaten a saw's worth. I said it before, he ate a little bit. So let's make it a little bit different. I'm not sure. Really, to eat a saw is a lot. Could be that his whole flock went inside, made up the whole base saw. So if if the animals made a base saw, so you're going to see how much the base saw is worth with Paris, without Paris. Now what Mr. McLean is saying, an extra kula that you don't see how much the saw was worth if you would have sold the saw alone, because that's very expensive. You see how much it's worth if you would have wanted to sell 60 saw. That's you get a better price per saw. And then you divide that into
Missing a saw.
I don't think so. I think 60 saw, how much would have been worth to sell with the pairs. And then now you have the price of a saw.
Saws were what was damaged.
The saw was damaged. And 60, so how much you would want, how much the price would be for 60 saw? I don't know what I'm going to say now. But if you want to know how much it was worth before it was damaged. So how much was the saw worth before it was damaged? So you don't reckon if you would have wanted to sell the saw alone. You reckon how much you would have wanted to sell 60 saw, and then a 60th of that. That's how much the saw is worth. The price of the saw is going to be when you want to sell 60 saw. Now you want to know how much the damage was. How do you do that now? The next step, you have to know how much it's worth now that it's missing. So how much was the saw devalued? You have to do like you said. You have to do that. You're going to see how much the 60 saw is worth minus one patch that's missing. 60 saw, and 59 of the saw are growing,
Right.
and one saw of the is empty. How much? What the difference would have been? I thought a little different, but let's say like you that if he ate a saw, so you don't reckon how much it would have been worth if only selling one saw with and without. You see how much he would have wanted to sell 60 saw, and one saw would be. I would have done differently. I would have thought that you would reckon the 60 saw with and without. Now I know that, and now take a 60th of that. Let's say 60 saw would be $600. That's for easy numbers. $600. $600. And now that it's without, and how much is it without Paris? If 60 saw would have been in the middle of the crop growing, would have been $600. And now if it's empty, there's nothing growing on the 60 saw, then it would have been $500. Now I take a 60th of that.
So it's just like, so you're talking about $100. No, you're saying it's a 60th of $100. According to the numbers you just mentioned, $600 the whole field, and now now it's worth 500 because there's nothing growing. So all 60 were worth $100. All 60 saws, according to your calculations, was $100. So a 60th of that is $1.33 or something like that. $1.30, because it's $100 divided by 60. If you want to find out what that one saw is.
Does it make sense like that?
Yeah, I mean the numbers would be 1,000 rather than.
Yeah, I'm doing hundreds of
Right,
thousands.
let's call it $100. So the $100 is what's lost in the
So
60.
reckoning
60
how
saws.
much, I think it will make more sense that way, no? That not just to take one field, one field is empty, one saw is empty out of 60 saw. See the price of a 60, how much this thing got depreciated, but not on its own. In the field of 60 times the amount. So then how much it would have been worth when a 60 saw would have been full of fruit, how much the whole 60 saw is worth without fruit. And now take a 60th of that. See the possibility. That's basically everything I'm saying is maybe, I'm not sure. And all of them say 60, but the Rabbi said Takov is half a saw, and a kelach is even only one stalk. So what are they arguing about? Everyone says 60. Everyone says you double it, you multiply it by 60. But it seems maybe a base of only holds that when you have a saw. But it will be only if you had a saw. But if you would have eaten less, so then you go according to the parents themselves. I'm not sure about this shot. And Abani says even a Tarkov also, but less than that, he's also going to agree that maybe you estimate the parents themselves. And Chizkiah says anything, even a kelach, even one stalk, you multiply it if you would have eaten 60 times the amount. How much it would be worth? How much it would that area would have been less if you would have wanted to sell it with a stalk, without a stalk. So they're all three Amurim are going with the 60. Either 60 Saw B'Shishim Son or Taka B'Shishim Katom or Kelab, everyone's going with 60. Yes.
Trying to do the math.
Okay, the math
No,
is not important. That's the idea. That's the idea. That's the idea of how you're getting the kula of how you're estimating the worth of the field before and after. Meisvei Kasha Bam Brisa, Achla Kavo Kabayim, Ein Omim Tash Teshalim Demayan. You don't pay how much it would be worth to sell the fruit itself. Ela Ro No Sakilu Yaruka Katana. You see it as a small row, or Mashal Mosa, and you estimate it how much the row is worth when it's full of Paris, how much it's worth when it doesn't have Paris. And what's the kasha? That it doesn't say anything about estimating it among Shishim.
Huh.
It just says you look at it.
Right.
So it could be that you do have the cool of the Mishnah, the Pashtan of the Mishnah we learned, that you don't look at it itself, you don't do the Paris itself, but you know how much the karka is depreciated now. But it doesn't say anything about how much you assess the karka to be 60 times the amount, not according to any man the amount. Maybe you can say that here's Kabo Kabayim, according to the pshat that I said. So it says 1 to 2 kav, which is less than Shishim Saw, less than Tarkav. I'm not sure why maybe it's not fair on everybody. But the Moyan says, my love and you don't do it times 60. No, B'Shishim. It also means estimating it 60 times the amount, even though it doesn't say Sabal Famish. What does the Gemara think that it says here that it doesn't say in the Mishnah? The Mishnah also doesn't say 60. So the Pinchas said that maybe in the Mishnah it says Ba'osa Sada. The Lashon of the Mishnah was Lo Nosa Kami Yishava. How does it say in the words? Shama Beisa Ba'osa Sada. Kama Yisiyafa Kami Yafa. The Mishnah does say something about Ba'osa Sada. So Ba'osa Sada means the size of his field. How big is the size of his field? That was the Gemara talking about Shishim Saw or Tarkav. But that surely doesn't say Kelach. I don't know. But it says Ba'osa Sada. So Ba'osa Sada means that you're doing it out of a bigger amount. So it could be that was why the Gemara understood in the Mishnah, but here the Brisa doesn't say those words. It just says Kilu Yaruga, Kitana. It doesn't say this Ba'osa Sada. So maybe the Gemara thought that it's Lochak to say that it means Shishim, but the Gemara says here also that it means Shishim. Tan Rabbanan, Ein Shaman Kabel B'nei Mashbicho, V'lo B'niskom B'nei Pogmo. That's the Lashon of the Brisa. That's the end of the Brisa. You don't estimate a kav because it's making it worth too much, and you don't estimate with a base score. A base score is 30 saw. You don't a kav, a saw is 6 kav and a core is 30 saw, whatever the measurements are. But a kav is small and the base score is very much, so you don't estimate a kav because then it's making it worth more. You don't estimate a base score because then you're making it worth much less. That's end of the brisa. My kamma. What does the brisa mean to say? So first we're gonna have a papa, then we're gonna have a different shot. The papa says Zachi kamma. Ain't shaman kav.
Go back for a second. The Gemara we had to discuss they reckon from within a field, right?
How much the field is the worth less now? Not how much the Paris would be worth to sell, but how much the field was depreciated.
We had a puzzle. Now why don't you just say look at this if this field the way the
where do you get the pasuk? The pasuk doesn't talk about 2 kula. It only has 1 kula. Now we're inventing a second kula. I don't know if the must have a pasuk for this. So then how do you know this thing about Shishim? In the Mishnah we didn't see it, and the Gemara says both. That's
what just say it's the field that you damage.
Feel that you damage. I don't know. If you need a pasuk, you don't have a pasuk over here. There's a Taisus that I'm not sure that Taisus maybe says on the Prim Zion. I've written on my notes. I'm not sure if it's true. That maybe the whole sugi is only talking about when it was a huge field. If he only had a small field, so then why should he talk about a huge field? He has a small field. If he wants to sell, he has to sell this field. He's not going to sell a saw in 60. He doesn't have 60 saw. He never dreamed of 60 saw. He has 1 saw. So maybe over there he did damage this saw. Maybe they was only talking about when he had a huge stock. He has 60 saw. He has 100 saw. So then you go according to the price of if he would have wanted to sell 60 saw.
Sure. That's what I understood from the beginning.
Okay, could be. So here's a price. You don't reckon a kav because it's making it worth too much. You don't reckon a base score because it's worth too little. My kamma, what does the price mean to say? Amra papa kamma. En shaman kav b'shishim kavim b'pnei shemash biach mazik. Below core b'shishim kurin b'pnei shepogim mazik. I need help if anybody could. You don't assess a kav times 60. Before the Gemara talked about 3 opinions. There was a saw and 60 saw, a tarka which is 3. Which is half a saw, which is 3 kav. A tarkav is 3 kav, and also times 60, and the kelach times 60. Here the Gemara has a kav. You don't reckon a kav times 60 because you're making it worth too much. Mashbiach mazik, is that the right way to say it? Mashbiach mazik means, no, Rashi says that it's going to make the mazik pay too little. If you look at Rashi, Ein shamim kav v'shishim kavim and ochla kav ein shamim v'shishim kavim. You don't say how much it would have been worth, how much this kav was worth, this base kav became worth less if it would have been in the area of shishim. The mazik is going to be paying too little. The shishim kavim it's not a good price on the market. It doesn't have a good price because it's too much for ani to buy. It's too little for a benoni to buy. It's not noticeable, so it's very little. So we're not going to estimate how much it would have been, how much it depreciated the 60 kav, because it's not enough. The mazik is paying too little. And also, low kor b'shishim kurim. If it ate a core, Rashi says that it actually ate a core. That's a huge amount. A lot of animals ate a core. You don't say how much it was depreciated if it would have been an area of 60 core, because then it's paying too much. So he says, Rashi says the reason why that amount is a good, very good price. And it's also very noticeable, the absence of a core within 60 core. So you don't reckon it like that. But what do you do? Ella. Period. Ella, you can do a saw with base saw. He's going back to the mission. The mission says you do a saw in 60 saw, I guess. We're putting in the word 60. We're okay with the word 60 over here, even though the commission didn't say, but we're assuming we're happy with that. But it says you don't do a kav, you don't do a core, you do a saw. How much did he eat? I'm still not getting. How much did he eat? The Mishnah is saying in the case where he ate a saw, that would be the Pshat in the Mishnah. Not that he ate a couple of tomatoes. He ate a saw worth, a base saw, which is also a huge amount. There's examples that really maybe have a lot of animals coming in. But if you say that
it could be that it's stepped
down a lot.
No,
Okay.
then it wouldn't be.
Then it'd be regular, yeah, it'd be regular. So what are you saying? That in a case where you only had a calf, then you wouldn't apply this halacha. In a place where you had a core, you wouldn't apply that halacha.
I don't get it. The whole thing sounds to me, you know, the svaras I don't understand. She needs
yeah.
curries. I mean,
Yeah.
You ate a small patch. Make believe.
why make the leaf?
The mice, he damaged him. In his situation, he damaged him.
When we're evaluating how much it is, we make believe he ate a saw worth, and then we're going to evaluate how much the saw is worth among the 60, and then he's going to be proportionate with the patch that he ate.
Now, why? Let's say I damage your house, so make believe you own the whole van, make them proportionally so that there wouldn't be a same damage.
Right?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I just don't understand.
The difference between retail versus wholesale.
What? If you're going to buy an apple and you're looking my full
You must shekel per kilo. Go buy it at the wholesaler, it costs you 5 shekel, a shekel worth of them. It's virtual a lot of different areas, less in terms of what that the residents do. You can't necessarily see what's going on. That's why it's paying for different.
So the question was, in the area that it might see damage, so why do you imagine other things? Right now, this man has,
You have to get our places for large area.
but he doesn't have a large area. He has this is what he has.
That's not what you're doing.
That's the question. How come? That's the question the Rob's asking. How come? If a mice damage him, he doesn't have he's not a big wholesaler. He's a small. This is how much the damage was in this field, in this size field. That's how much the damage is worth. So, is it exercise custom? I don't know. But I'm not kidding. So in the case, and he's saying when you assess the source, so then you also you're going to take if you ate less, you ate 25 tomatoes. So you're going to take how much that is and whatever in it was so, and the saw. It's the 60. Then the saw is going to be in 60 saw. I'm not getting all the cheshbonos here. You want to know how much the damage was. So you say if it would have been a saw, how much? Not how much the saw would have. That's how much this. If the whole saw would have been empty, saw b'shishim saw, and then you're going to take that and proportionally to how much that he ate. The other ones, I can't say how clarity. So what's the next kasha over here? High below base core, below coin boiler. According to Rav Huna, who's that? Rav Papa's Pshat, ain't shaman kav of nation mashbiach below base core. He doesn't want base core. It told me the case. He's saying that the case was that he ate a core. How come it says below base core? It shouldn't have said base core. It says a core because your Pshat is that if you ate a core, you don't reckon a core in 60 core. Ain't shaman kav of nation mashbiach nizik. below kav base core b'nei pogim nizek elo b'shishim. I'm just trying to read a translation, and if anybody can help me out, that's the end of that sugya. That you don't assess a kav on its own. Not a kav. The first part was you don't do a kav b'shishim kav. He doesn't say that. He says you don't do a kav b'fnei atzmo. You don't just reckon the kav alone because that's very expensive. Mashbiach nizik is going to get paid very much because of the actual thing of the kav. And you also don't do a kav in the base core because then pogam nizik he's going to get paid very little because how much the kav eaten in the base core is nothing. So what do? Shishim times the amount that he ate. You always go with shishim times the amount that he ate. I'm still just stuck with the two things that I started with. That there's one issue about not doing the purpose itself, the lack of the karka, and how do you reckon the karka? So I had something in the Mishnah about saw, and the Gemara talked about if it would be less than a saw. How about if it would be a tarkav or it would be a kelach?
And what's with the 60?
When you want to know the price of the field, you don't look at the field, the small field, look at a big field. How much would have been 60 saw? If he would have sold 60 saw, how much would have been worth? That's the price of the field. Now that he only now you take a saw out of that. And what's the case?
There's always one side of a damage in a 60 saw field. That's the standard.
What if it would have been less? Maybe there's a machlokes if it would have been less. I can't say that I know. Maybe tomorrow we'll have more wisdom, but I don't know.
I think if it seems to be that they're using 60 as the standard for the right.
And the Mishnah doesn't say 60, and everybody's agreeing that it's 60. It seems more if you do it amongst the other fields, so then the question is going to be, so everyone says 60 again. Somebody cut down a decal. Rashi says kisba means a decal, a palm tree. Somebody cut down a decal. Now you have to estimate how much he has to pay. He came to the Reish Galusa to see how much he has to pay. So the Reish Galusa said, I saw that decal that he cut down. There were three the column coming out together. There was a group of three the column, and he cut down one of them. Altogether, the three trees were worth 100 zuz. So he cut down one of them. So you have to pay a third. Zil havle plus and a plus of a tilsa. Pay him 33 and a third. That's how much that tree was worth.
That's simple mathematics. We can understand. I'm trying to understand the fields why they say complicated.
The Gemara says that's not true. That's the whole thing. Our whole subject here is that you don't just do the thing for itself. The same way you don't talk about. So you're supposed to do out of the field. How much the field is worth less now because the one decal is missing. Omar. So the one who's that? Who's this? Who got the man? The man doesn't say a name here. The man said, "What kind of Reish Galusa? Can be Reish Galusa that don't din at the parcel normally. Why did I come to the Reish Galusa who's judging according to the Persian laws?" Asla kamed Rav Nachman.
The same problem as we have.
Asla kamed Rav Nachman. So he came to Rav Nachman. He paskin. Amalei b'shishim. He said, "You talk about 60. What is 60 going to mean? 60 trees. If it would have been 60 trees and now it's missing the area missing of 60 trees." And now it's missing one tree. How much did that area get?
Get back to 160.
Right.
It's the same idea.
And the Reish Galusa seemed to do according to the thing that it's worth. He forgot the din of Shishim. Doesn't mean that they forgot the din of the Mishnah also. Not that the Mishnah says that you don't do the thing itself. You don't do the tree itself. You do how much the land is devalued. Maybe it's against that also. He does he did the actual price of the tree. If the tree is considered a fruit, you're supposed to see how much the fruit is. How much if the tree is considered a fruit or not. It's considered land or is it considered fruit?
Decal, we always talk about a non-fruit bearing tree. Don't we? Decal is a palm tree to taste.
Yeah, but decal a cable, decal zocha, there is such a thing, but that doesn't make a difference here. Probably it had whatever the point is, how much this is worth. So the point might be that you're supposed to do the at least times 60. It means how much the area of 60 became worth less. If you had 60 trees and then one tree is missing, how much did that whole area become worthless? That's the hard question. Amalei Rava was arguing of Nachman. He also like the Reish Galusa. This whole leniency that talked about was only by Shem Regular. Over there, it's talking about the animal damage. But animal damaging, there's a leniency that he doesn't pay for the actual thing that he damaged, but how much the land was depreciated. But by Niske Gufa, when the person was damaged, you have such a kula also. This kula is only by animal damaging, a person's property. But if he himself damages, maybe he has to pay for the thing itself. That was Rava's time against Rav Nachman, which is like the Reish Galusa. Abai asked Rav, what do you mean to hold by Niske Gufo that he's going to have to pay for the whole fruit itself? Why do you think so? The Tanya, because of the following brisa. That it says in the Bryce, and maybe this is the source of your source why you think it's different, because here it does talk about Shishim. It says Rashi says the word Mavkir means that he took of all the fruit, destroyed it. He took of all the fruit. I'm not sure where the word comes from. Mavkir. He took off the fruit of the tree. There was a kerem. His friend had a kerem. Somebody came, took off all the fruit. Smother. At the stage when it was still smother. Smother when it's still unripe. He took off all the grapes when it was still smother. So how much does he have to pay? So you see how much it was worth before and how much it's worth after. That's the brisa. And it doesn't say that you could talk about if it was 60 times bigger. So maybe that's the reason why you think that since here it's talking about the Adam being mazik himself, maybe it's mashma that you don't go with Shishim. That was maybe the source that you thought that since it doesn't say Shishim, it doesn't say Bosa Sada, it doesn't say so. So maybe you're going to think also by all Nizki Adam, that's the halacha, that you don't have the leniency of Shishim. That's not a reason. You have a brisa by animal also, that it doesn't say the word Shishim. The truth is in our mission also it doesn't say Shishim. But Pinchas said maybe in our mission it says at least Bosa Sada. It says Bosa Sada. Someone based on Bosa Sada means that it was Agav, a bigger field. But here it doesn't say anything. It just says how much it was worth, how much it's worth now. But the Rabbi is going to ask, there's a brisa that it says also by Behema, and it doesn't say anything about Bosa Sada or Shishim. The Tanya, Kitmanatia, the animal, cut off a sapling when it was still in the sapling stage. If Yossi Omer goes to Gezer should be Yerushalayim Omer the Tia Bashnasa Shtei Keset Bashtei Shanim Abo Keset. It tells you how much it's worth, how much is in the Tia worth. It gives you a standard price for each thing. If it's within 1 year old, this sapling, then it's worth 2 Keset. If it's in the second year, it's so then it's 4 Keset. He gave a standard price how much a sapling is worth. Does that show anything yet? That he's not going out of the field. He's just talking about the sapling. Maybe that price of the Shtei Kesef also includes ag of the field. I don't know. But he says he gave a price for how much sapling is worth. Achla Chaziz, if he ate the field when it was still shachas, similar to what it says about the Netiyah, that it's a sapling, so too, when the twu is growing, so the beginning, when it's unripe, it's called shachas. Any Rashi on that?
Hands on here. Look at sick.
He consumed it. The animal consumed it.
Oh.
But Yosef really, it's talking about animal over here.
Oh.
And the animal for animal is good. That's what the animals eat. The animals eat chashish. How do you reckon how much it's going to be worth? You see what's left over. The mashur is shirayim. That whatever he didn't eat, eventually it grows to become tvua, and that becomes to be the value. So that's how much you're mazikin. So he seems to be going up like the whole Mishnah. He seems to say he's almost the opposite of the Mishnah. That basically seems to hold that you go according to how much the Paris are worth. The Rabbi said how much it is now, how much it's going to be worth, and you pay the difference. I was mazik that it didn't grow in to be how much it was now and how much it's going to be.
So
These
animals eat shirayim also.
They didn't eat the shirayim. The shirayim was why he didn't eat. It's shirayim of the animal. He's the rebbe. He ate some of the rest of it. It's called the Meshuya. So what does it mean over here? That you see how much this chaziz would have come to be. The Choy is saying a big chumrah. He's not only saying how much it was worth to pay the chaziz. He says you pay for the full price as if it would have grown. Is that what it says? That the mamish.
Yeah, we see. Wait till how much it's till the end to see how much
it's going to become worth, and then you pay that. You pay full price. So you have half ripe tomatoes, you pay for full tomatoes. Wow. That's a chiddush. The Chacham say what our Mishnah says. Our Mishnah says how much the field was worth with the chaziz and without the chaziz. How much a person would. Okay, now not how much you find the chaziz for, but how much the field is would be valued because.
It's going to say that you pay for how much it's potentially worth in its full vacancy.
Right. So he's not arguing on the Mishnah.
You know,
he's arguing.
The last narrow line, Rashi.
Rowan S. Hanosa lefi mashetala kol aruga baruga we make it seer or mishalem. Is that saying full price?
Yeah.
And
according to what it would have been.
What if it would have been full grown, even though now it wasn't full grown yet? So maybe the process would have been that if even if it's going to be machmer, the biggest chumrah would be how much it's worth now to sell. No, how much it would be full price? I don't know. And then that's against our Mishnah because our Mishnah says you go with the field. How much the field was depreciated because it's missing this unripe fruit. The Chachamim Omer, Bo Nosa Kamma Yafa v'Kamma Yafa. That's the same as our Mishnah. Achla Smodar. Smodar is a bit more ripe. Smodar is unripe. It's unripe. We'll see soon something even less ripe. But he sounds a little bit like a Shimon. But Shimon, the Mishnah said, "My Paris Gemurim," when it's going to be full ripe. Here he says, once it's smother, also once it's smother, that's considered close enough to be considered full. Of course, it has to grow more, but that's already considered mature. And Rabbi Yeshua, top line, says that you look at it as if it would have been ready to harvest. The Chachamim moment, again, they just say that how much the tree is worth less because it's missing the smother. They don't take it into being considered fully ripe. It's not fully ripe. You don't talk about they also don't say how much the smother is worth to buy, but they say how much the tree is worth less because it doesn't have these unripe fruit. I only agree to the Chachamim if it's mamish starting. Ulvei is the tendrils when it starts first growing. It doesn't have anything on it yet. And the Yechurei Teinim is also the branches of the fig tree before anything grew. So then I agree that you talk about how much the tree is worth less. I agree to the Chachamim.
First stage of the growth takes root, or it takes whatever you call it. Then you give it the shame of a full tree, a full fruit.
He says pagim or bosa. Pagim means unripe fig. That's where the word fig comes from. Fig. And bosa is also a bigger stage than the smother. Smother is smaller. The top line you had smother, and then you have bosa. So
bosa is already a developed.
It's not yet. It's a minimum. It's not called ripe yet. Also, but smother is even less.
It's like when you just see that
tiny little grape, tiny grapes. And the bosa is maybe the Gemara said bosa is pea size. It's also not a grape yet, but it's bigger. So Shimon says that once it's pagim or bosa, then it's already considered a full fruit. And our Mishnah, he says Peres Gemurim. Reb Shimon. Here, Reb Shimon says the quote a little bit different. That once it's pagim or bosa, it was also considered a full fruit.
It's just a matter of time. Yes, because they're already on the way. They're getting it.
What does the one want from all this? Abai is middle of talking to Rabbi. Rabbi said that by Niskei Adam, when a person is mazik, so it pays full price. You don't get any leniency. And the Kasha, and he says, why do you think so? Because there's a price that says by Adam, a mafkir as the Dechavero, so he pays for full price. He pays, and it doesn't say they pay shishim. He does evaluate, but doesn't say shishim. That's not impressing me because the price here is not talking about an animal. This whole thing is talking about an animal that ate chaziz, that ate. And it also doesn't say anything about evaluating it amongst the bigger field. Period. That's all it says. So how come you're impressed with other brisa, even though it doesn't say by behem? Well, you must here. You hold that the brisa here must mean also b'shishim, and it doesn't say so. So Abai is not impressed with Rabba's point. Again, it comes to machlokes. But the Reish Galusa said if the person cut down the tree, pays for the tree, how much the tree is worth, full price. Rabba said. Rav Nachman said, no, you do it b'shishim. You imagine how much it would have been if it would have been 60 trees missing one tree. And he would have sold 60 trees. How much is the piece of land worth missing one tree? And Rabba is the horror going on the side of the Reish Galusa, that's only by a behema mazik. This came on, if the person's property damages, but if he himself damages a person, he has to pay full price. And Abai is attacking him. Abai is challenging Rabba and saying, why do you think so? Because you found a price that it doesn't say B'shishim, there's a price that by him also doesn't say B'shishim. And we still know that's B'shishim. We're saying in the Dik our Mishnah holds the also said that it means B'shishim, and everybody agreed that the Chachamim hold like that. There are Tanam that argue, but at least in the Rabbanan that say that it's also said that you evaluate how much the field is devalued, you go B'shishim, and it doesn't say so. So what do you see? It's Lav Davka. So don't be impressed with the price that says by Adam, even though it doesn't say the word Shishim, it also means Shishim. So it seems to be a machlokes at this point. If the kula of Shishim applies to Niskei Adam also. New Gemara. I mean, it's new piece, but it's still a continuation of the subject. The Rebbe says that you do the actual fruit. Like how did the Rebbe, what was his lashon over here, the bottom of the page? The Rebbe said Meshuya. So full price, even though it's only half ripe, you charge him with the full price. So Rabbi Abayis, who's that? Abayis says I'm going to buy it, that the Bishmal holds the same thing. Rabbi Shmuel in our price holds that you pay full price, even though it's only half ripe. Rabbi Shmuel says the same thing. the Tanya, Meitav Sadeh, Meitav Kamma Yishalem. Now we had this brayza a long time ago, and we didn't dream that it's coming to the same thing about this. This machlokes of Meitav Sadeh doesn't mean Meitav Kamma Yishal Nizik, Meitav Kamma Yishal Mazik. Over there, the question was about Idis the Mazik, Idis the Nizik. So we knew about this. It says in the pasuk, you pay Meitav Sadeh, Meitav Kamma Yishalem. And Rabbi Shmuel says, Meitav Sadeh Yishal Nizik, Meitav Kamma Yishal Nizik. Rabbi Shmuel, which we all like that. We hold that you pay Idis, I'm sorry, we hold Mazik. We hold Meitav Sadeh Shall Mazik.
Yeah.
And he has to pay his. He has to pay Idis. There was machlokas about that.
Yeah, we said massive. Yeah, thank
Mhm.
Said a lot of
So,
I mean, it's just,
so
it helps us
if,
that the animal is happy to eat both certain and unripened fruit. Where the man is thinking always about the full fruit, the full.
yeah, we talk about the value. We don't tell
So
you.
therefore, the man's machshava is that he wants. He's looking forward to the fruit in its entirety. Therefore, he's also chayiv in.
I would think because he's more responsible, not because what he's thinking about. Because he's more responsible. He did the damage. He doesn't get the leniency. It's more high for your own actions than you want for your animals'
He
actions.
also knows that the whole purpose of fruit is that it should be a complete tree.
So the nizik is a person, and he's looking at his trees, and he sees they're all gone. So he's very concerned. What do I care that the animal is eating? You damage my fruit that we're going to become full fruit. There's a leniency for a person in this moment.
I'm trying to figure out why is there leniency by the animal.
Because you're not as responsible for your animal as you are for yourself.
That's the whole.
I think so. I think that will be the smart to differentiate. But Bava says no. You find the cool by another also. Here it says Meitav Sadeh Shal Nizik, which Meitav Kamma Shal Nizik. Rabbi Shmuel. So we had before that it means that if the mazik has better idis than the nizik, he doesn't have to pay more than the nizik's idis. And we put it over there shal mazik. The rice over there says also shal mazik. Which isn't our subject right now, but it says that you pay idis, you pay meitav shal mazik. But anyway, what does the Gemara want? The Gemara wants that Rabbi Shmuel says meitav shal nizik. What does the Gemara see from that? The Gemara sees for some reason that meitav means full grown. It's not a new chiddush, and the meitav the shal nizik. You never had it. We said that meitav kamma shal nizik. That means not how much you pay, but not the price, how much you have to pay, but what type of payment, what quality of payment. Meitav shal shal nizik in contrast to meitav shal mazik. That's how we learned the whole time at the beginning of the Masechta. Not anymore comes with a how they call it in Yiddish, offerise, a new thing. So that's something new. That Rabbi Shmuel is also saying that you pay for the full price, even though you only ate half ripe pears. The animal ate half ripe pears, he has to pay for full ripe. That's also included in the word meitav shal nizik. And now the Gemara says, don't take the pshat that we said a long time ago. Now really, the Gemara is not going to discredit the pshat that we really said at then, that it means what quality. The Gemara is going to discredit a pshat that the Gemara also discredited over there. So there's a pshat to say meitav shal nizik means how much you have to pay. That says a pshat. There was a pshat that the Gemara suggested over there that what does it mean to say meitav shal nizik? You pay more than you damage. If he damages a cheap field, he should have to pay for an expensive field of the nizik. You have to pay for the nizik's best. If you didn't need the nizik's best, the Gemara said that can't be. But the Ravidi said a pshat that if you don't know, he ate a patch of fruit in the nizik's field, and you don't know which one it was. It's gone. You don't know what it was. He ate it already. So you look at the best. It's a suffix. Maybe he ate the high quality. So you have to pay as if it would have been high quality. If a suffix, if you know for sure you ate only a kusha, pay a kusha. But if you're not sure, you have to pay a shmeina. So and then the Gemara said, and that the Gemara saying, don't say that's the pshat. If that's the pshat, then you don't have our new pshat to say that he has to pay for the whole ripe fruit, even though it's not yet ripe. So the Gemara says no. Let's take out this was a mistake over here. Yeah. So the Gemara has such a pshat that Idi Barovin said that Rabbi Shmuel meant to say that if you don't know what you damage, you have to pay as if it would have damaged the best. But the Gemara says no, that's not the pshat. We don't say such a pshat. My timer, that you don't have to pay. If you're not sure how much you damage, you don't have to pay more than he's surely damaged. So if you don't know if he damaged a kusha or shmeina, you just pay a kusha. So that's not the pshat. So what is the pshat? So the pshat in meitav nizik means how much it's going to be worth. Right now it's not yet meitav. It's going to become meitav. So if it's unripe, so Bishmol holds like Rabbi Yossi Aglili that if it's not yet ripe, you pay as if it would have been ripe. So this is a new pshat, and the Gemara is ignoring the real pshat that we said over there, that it doesn't mean you pay more than your masik, but what type, what quality do you pay? And the Gemara doesn't mention it, and over there we have the kasha also. So we said it must be not the quantity, how much you pay, but the quality of what you pay. And the Gemara ignores that and says that there's another thing that it means this. It means that you pay for the full ripe fruit, even though you just damaged unripe fruit. That's going to be that sheya aleh, kimo sheya aleh baso, kimo sheya aleh.
Rather, it will become.
Yes.
As it will become in the future.
Amar Reb Shimon Yehuda Amar Mishum Reb Shimon. Bemet v'mamurim b'shachla lul v'gifanim v'yichur eitainim. Let's go back a second to emphasize what the Gemara is going to talk about. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda Mishum Reb Shimon. So he said, when do you pay how much the field was depreciated if it ate lul v'gifanim and yichur eitainim? Which means Imam didn't start at all yet. It's still the tendrils and it's still just the branches of the tainim. So then it's true that you're just going to pay how much the tree was depreciated because it's missing these tendrils and these branches. But if it ate pagim or bosa, which is already almost a fruit, so then you pay for full fruit. That was the Shimon Yehuda, Shimon. So there was a question that it skipped a step in between. There's something in between. It was very extreme. The two things is that it didn't start at all. The other thing is that it's almost finished. It's already bosa. But there's something in between, which is called smada. That's the in-between stage that Rabbi Shua spoke about. And Rabbi Shimon Yehuda, he skipped it. He said, if it's just the branches, then you pay for how much the tree was depreciated. If he ate bosa, pagim bosa, then you pay for full fruit. But he didn't say it was the din of smada. Rabbi Shua said smada is also considered a full fruit, and Rabbi Shimon is going to be a contradiction. If he said little bit kfanim, we'd make the diak by ourselves, but smada is already a full fruit. But then he says pagim bosa is a full fruit. Masa smada is not. That's going to be the Gemara's kasha. I don't understand Rabbi Shimon's jump. He made a jump. So that's the Gemara. The fig branches. Yichor is a branch. That's
what are we learning from the branches?
That if he ate branches, he ate these tendrils, so then you only pay how much the tree was depreciated because of that. But the diak is they're not a more stick.
There's no fruit yet. It's just.
Right.
See what's there to eat. I mean, he damaged them for some other reason. He wanted the wood.
He ate the tendrils. He ate the started growing branches. They're going to come great. Leave them alone. No, talking about animal.
Animals. Okay.
Smart, but not the more. This the parentheses here. Okay, we have to make not parentheses. You have to make the main point. The Gemara wants over here that the diak is going to be smart. The diak would be that only if it would be branches, but if it would have been which at the beginning small, tiny state, it would have been already considered fruit. But then Amos Sefer, the Brisa continues. Rav Shimon says, "Achla pagim bosa." And then the diak is going to be. That's the case. The Rono Sakila and Avam Nasi Batzer Asmada. The diak is a full fruit. So that's contradiction within Rabbi Shimon. Smada, Ronosa, Kamma. Then you see how much the tree was depreciated. So that's a contradiction in Rav Shimon. All this was the question we started off with what on the Brisa, a contradiction in Rav Shimon. Ravina Krochutani. Wrap it up all together and stick in Boser as being also something. He's going to say the Smadar is also going to be considered fully ripe. Don't make the diak that it says only Pagar and Boser and Smadar is less. No. The Medvam is it's only considered, he only looks at the appreciation of the tree only when he ate it as branches and tendrils. Put it all together. Smada Pagar Bosa. Put it into the words. That smada is also considered fully grown. If so, there's a machlokes because both of them say that smada is a full fruit. Rabbi Shua, the top line, Rabbi Shua said that smada is really a full fruit. Now you say Hashem saying the same thing, that only like fanim is not a full fruit. But once it's going to be smada, stick in smada also. The Gemara is sticking in as if it says smada here also. So he also says that it's considered a full fruit. So there's no machlokes between Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Shimon. The machlokes is going to be there's a machlokes. You have to stick in a machlokes between the Rabbanan of the Mishnah Chachamim say that you always go even by the full fruit. You're also going to just reckon how much the tree is worth with or without. But Reb Shimon and Rabbi Yeshua, both of them hold that you look at the fruit themselves once it's madar. The Mishnah only said when it was full fruit, mamish peres gemurim. Here, the Reb Shimon says differently. Once it's madar, it's already considered the full fruit. But there has to be a machlokes between Reb Yeshua and Reb Shimon. So the more says kash gufna. Kash gufna means very interesting concept, and I don't know what everybody would say. That it's true when the full fruit comes, so the full fruit is worth more. It's true, but the geffen, the vine, did because the wear and tear, the fact that it gave out a fruit, so the geffen is not as potent anymore. So when you're going to pay for the full fruit, can I at least say, but the my side took it off beforehand, so deduct of my payment how much you gained by not having the geffen have to work to give out a fruit. You deduct how much the geffen became worth less. It's true. I'm paying. I took it smarter. I took it as unripe fruit, and you want me to pay for the full fruit, but at least deduct from my payment how much I gained you. That the tree is still going to be a strong tree. It's not going to be weakened because it gave out the fruit. That's called kash gufna.
Yeah, but the only purpose of the unripe fruit is that it's going to become ripe, and so
Yes.
there's no difference.
No, of course it's different. Next season you're gonna your geffen gives out fruit for 25 years. Now I saved you one crop. This year it's not going to give out fruit. So next year it'll have one more year. It'll have more strength.
Right, but the bus is already working. The smother is already on there.
But it takes much more effort of the geffen to give out to make it into a full grape. So that extra koach that I saved you, of course I was mazik you because I took you don't have a grape this year.
Yeah.
But I saved you that the geffen didn't work. So the geffen is still stronger, it'll last longer. So deduct of my price that I have to pay how much I saved you by not having the geffen. We'll have a couple of more examples in the Gemara. We'll see that.
Very difficult because anyway, once it's got this madar on it, hey, he wants that fruit. It's already there.
I'm asking that he's going to pay for it. He's paying for how much the grape. You didn't get a grape. I took away your grapes this year. So I pay for all the grapes, but also to deduct out of my payment how much that the geffen is still worth more. The geffen is a stronger geffen. You want to
have a 1 year longer living tree.
So it's you have
I see. I guess I understand.
But we'll almost sign me. So we have to create a machlokas between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Shimon. So
Rabbi Yeshua said he said not smarter, but
both of them said smarter. Both of them said smarter. Both of them said smarter. And the question now is going to be, but I have to make a machlokas between them. So we said the machlokas is going to be the deduct how much you gained on this kash gufna. But we don't know who says what. We'll almost sign me. We're not going to know who says what. I have to make a machlokas, but we don't know who says what. Abai says we do know who says what. Because we found another place of Shimon ben Yehuda also Chash Gufna. Montana the Chash Gufna. Shimon ben Yehuda, we found another place where if you have machlokes, we know that the Shimon ben Yehuda is the one that does take that into consideration. The Tanya Shimon ben Yehuda, Shimon ben Menasya. So Shimon ben Yehuda. Honest, any mashal mesatzar. The nation so full of tzar tachas baila. Honest, a person who raped a woman, he has to pay nezek tzar ripoy, whatever kind of damage he did to the woman. And the question is, does he have to pay for tsar? Tsar is the pain that she had from the rape, not the emotional tsar, the physical tsar.
Sure, yes. Why is that a question?
So Shimon ben Nasi says that he doesn't pay for the tsar because anyway, eventually when she would have gotten married, she also would have had the pain of the first bia. So even though he pained her by, this was the first bia and it's painful for the woman, but it would have eventually been anyway. So that he doesn't have to pay for. It means if something fishy can happen anyway, so he deducts. So, this was a side point. It's not the get to us. In the dome and the balance plus and the balance bonus, the Rabbanan say that no, it's different. Even though a woman, even when she's married, also the first bia is painful, but it's different when it's done with Ratzah, with the husband. And fine. Yeah. But the issue is Tyson says that's not only Rav Shimon ben Menashe, it's going to be also the Rabbanan. Both of them. There's a technical point over there. If it's more tsar or less tsar, but if there's going to be tsar, so you don't have to pay for tsar. If there's going to be tsar anyway. So that the Gemara looks at it as the same idea. You take into consideration what's going to be in the future. So the Chash Gufna is also taking into consideration what's going to be in the future, that the geffen is going to be stronger. Amar Abaye, Hani Tanoi Rav Shimon ben Yehuda Amru Davar Echad. Now we're going into Chash Gufna. Do you find anybody else holds of Chash Gufna?
Chash Gufna, what does it mean?
The weakening of the geffen.
Oh yeah, Chash is
again. What's the story?
Somebody, there was a bosa growing, and an animal came, he ate up the bosa. So you have to pay for the full grape. Even though it wasn't a full grape, they have to pay for the full grape. But there's a consideration that's true. I've ruined you a grape. But I did save you that the tree is not so weak anymore. If I would have
It
given
was
out
drawing less time.
that right, like how much mileage it has. This, the car, how much is the car worth? It's worth less the more mileage that it has. So it's true, I damaged the car, but I did save you on the mileage. So I'm going to pay for the grape, but deduct how much I saved you that the Geffen is still strong.
It's probably not okay. It's not a lot of money, but you take it in consideration.
I guess if it was okay, if Gemara has another cases, maybe it'll explain another. That's the idea. Abai says you find other Tanam will also hold of Kash Gufna. Rab Shimon Yehuda and the following Tanam. Rab Shimon Yehuda Hadamor. We just finished saying Rab Shimon Yehuda that he says the Kash Gufna, and we said also the case about the onus doesn't pay for tzar. Hani Tanai Mai. Would you find other Tanam also hold that you deduct the Kash Gufna? The time of Naki Chaya, Benazar Naki Mizonos. That's the talk. Rashi is talking about. That a man, he hit a woman in a way that she miscarried, then he has to pay for the vlad. How do you evaluate that? We said you evaluate how much a woman is worth as a shifcha before, when she's pregnant, when she's not pregnant. But there's another point. The Mazda comes with a point and says, but you know that if she would have given birth, so we'd have to pay for the midwife. And now I caused her a miscarriage and I got to pay for that. But you don't. But you saved $100 on the midwife. Why should I have to pay for that?
Say you save money in the crib and on the Pampers and the.
Again, what's the cases in
Carriage,
What's the case?
and the Hamlin claim the yellow.
And all that.
I guess you only go till the birth.
About the birth also, you would say the hospital costs and
That's not Gichai. That's not Gichai. You deduct the price of the midwife. That even though he has to pay for the Vlad, somebody caused a woman a miscarriage, so he has to pay for the value of the Vlad, but they deduct how much a midwife would have costed, because now she doesn't need a midwife. That means that's I think that shows very much the idea about the Chash Gufna.
No, I hear. It's 100. It doesn't need my stomach. It's 100% right. We don't think in those terms.
It's machlokus. The machlokus over here. And Benazia Manakim
Once
is
it's sad now. The
Go
nice
ahead.
is
Go ahead.
no. After you hear it, it's so passionate.
Machlokus. I don't know what to say. And Benazia Manakim Mizonos, that you also deduct how much she needs more food when she's pregnant. She has to eat more when she's pregnant. She needs better food while she's pregnant, and now she doesn't have that extra chance.
Besides
So
food, she needs vitamins or whatever.
All those things you deduct.
But she wanted all that. She wanted that.
Okay.
That's why she got pregnant.
That's why he paid for the blood. He's paid for the blood. But now it's not going to cost her that money. So he paid for the blood. That's the point. He's paying for the blood. But he says deduct how much you would have had to pay. And there's a side point there about that.
She can say, no, I'm going to be pregnant again. I want a baby, and you took my baby away. I'm gonna need that for the next baby. Make up for the love.
I mean, this doesn't make a one price for as many babies as you have. Each baby costs again. And if there's onus, it's not one with onus wall. If you got pregnant again, you have to have onus again. So I saved you the money of this meal of this. Mandam and Naki Chaim Koskin Naki Mizonos. Mandam and Naki Mizonos, Avakapichai load. Amalei, it's a didi. Pekichi Volomi Boyachaya. There's a side point. This is not the subject. But our subject is such a musag called Naki Chash Gufna. But here the Gemara says about a Mialedes, there's a time that the husband can say, my wife doesn't need a Mialedes. She gives birth at home and she's fine.
Chayoten.
Here, that's the words inside. The one that says Naki Chaya, sure, you deduct also the extra food that you would have had to eat. But the Madama says you deduct the food, but you don't deduct the price for the midwife, because he can say that my wife is a pikachas and she doesn't need a chaya. She doesn't need a midwife. End of that Gemara, but the Gemara continues. Now, this is all a side point about Chash Gufna. Back to that, we found Tanam that argue about the whole din of the Mishnah that says that you go according to the field and they do according to the pairs themselves. But our Mishnah, we're going to go like our Mishnah, that you do the agav, the field, and even the field, you do shishim. And we go back to the machlokes before. Do you deduct even by Adam Amazik? That was the case of the tree over there. Papa Rav Huna Yeshua Abu Duvda Kravasid Rav Nachman B'Shishim. That they passed in the Malach Lamais, they passed like Rav Nachman B'Shishim, even though it was Adam Amazik. Rabbi challenged. Rabbi said by Adam Amazik you don't do that. So it seems that they also passed like Rav Nachman, that by the decal that you do Shishim. Lishnachmina. Papa Rav Huna Yeshua Shamu Dikla Agav Ketina Da'ara. According to this, it doesn't talk about, maybe it's the same thing, that the same point, maybe it's Lishnachmin is something that just means a different version, that they evaluated a tree, agav the land. how much the land became devaluated because of the lack of the tree. So I don't know about Shishim exactly, but it means you do see the point that it goes to how much the land was devaluated. Lishnachmini usually we found in the Shas that it's always a different version of the printer. It's not a Iked Amri. So here also might be, I'm not sure. The term Lishnachmini doesn't mean Iked Amri. Lishnachmini usually means a different version in the text. But anyway, what did it say? That they pass like Rav Nachman, that you also do Agav the land, as well like Rabbanan. Everybody would, maybe Rav was arguing at that also. Again, these are the two kulas. You do Agav the land, and also you do Shishim. So maybe this all included over here. But Rava was challenging by Adam Mazik, you don't have that kula, and Rav Nachman did hold of it. Abai also challenged Rava. So here the Gemara seems to say, the Diklar Mo. We do paskin like them by Arami Dekel, but the Diklar Parsa. So Rashi says that Dikla Parsa is a chashav a tree, and sometimes it's so chashav that you don't bag of the land either. Sometimes it's not so chashav, so then you just look at the land, how much the land became worth less because of the absence of the tree. But sometimes the tree is so chashav, a Dikla Parsa, that maybe you look at the Dekel alone, you don't look at how much the land became devalued. A nice story now. Famous story, famous, part of it is famous, part of it is not. Very fascinating tomorrow. Eliezer Zeira, that's his name, Eliezer Zeira. He was wearing black shoes. And he was standing wearing black shoes in the marketplace of Narda. What's wrong with black shoes? Ashkechu the Beirish Galusa. Black shoes. Ashkechu the Beirish Galusa. The people of the Beirish Galusa found him and they saw him with black shoes. Amule, Maishna Hani Masani. Why bring the black shoes for? What's this? Black shoes. Amalahu, they come out Yerushalayim because I'm mourning on Yerushalayim. So he's wearing black shoes. Otherwise, people didn't wear black shoes. He was in mourning. He acted like a mourner. So he said, "Wait, mourning?" So he says, "Mourning for Yerushalayim." So they said, "Who are you to mourn on Yerushalayim?" But Tzibur, Amulei, At Chashivas Listabuli Yerushalayim. They didn't believe him. Like it's a Yura, Sabra Yura. They considered it like arrogance. He's like someone goes in black and he asks him like that. Black shoes nowadays is not noticeable.
Today, be a young guy going with a hamburger and a frack. A young guy who's not
right. So
position.
Right. Even though that was the point, and even though the way that he expressed it was by being Musabal in Yerushalayim, he's going to get close.
Hey, somebody wearing a sackcloth because of Churban Yerushalayim.
Yeah, you put it that. Thank you.
Yeah. So they said in the markets that you can't make yourself into a asiyah b'chavshus. They knocked them up.
It's very interesting that Bedvin got involved in a person's.
It's Reish Galusa.
Reish Galusa got involved. Well, he wasn't fully damaged in Al Muchaber.
It's damage. It's damaging. It's very damaging.
It's a big chiddush, no?
I don't think so. I think it's very damaging. People make themselves to be big people, and they're not. Very damaging.
Yeah, but it's Bezin should be involved. No,
it's
definitely a bad thing. But
the king should
even the Rav of the basic Knesset, we get involved.
The king, the person who wears Hanhag. He's in charge of how things are supposed to be. We call it a king. The king is in charge. You don't let things go around like that. People that make themselves big and they're not. So you put them down, put them in their place. So he's going to get following soon.
No, but not something that's so attractive. If the guy has money, then it's attractive. He's doing something that's painful.
No, leadership. He's making himself. He's making himself into a somebody. And if he's a somebody, he's going to have a following soon. And if the king is able to, he puts these people in their place.
The Rav Bashul, I think, also should do something with that.
He starts making some kind of a gathering. People start coming, like he's getting a following. So they were concerned that he's a Yura, he's a Gaiva. So he said, I'm a Talmud Chacham. I don't, it's fitting for me. I'm a Lu Gavar Abana. I'm a Talmud Chacham.
Who said this?
Eliezer Zira.
Was he a great man?
Well,
Was he a great man?
so they said, I'm prove it. How do we know that you're a Talmud Chacham? So how would you prove it? So you say, give him a fire.
That's me.
So he said, so he says, prove it that you're a Talmud Chacham. So he said, Amalu, O Atun Bo Minoi Milsa, O Ano, Boy Minai Milsa. Either ask me a question, you want to ask me a question, or I'll ask you a question. Which would you prefer? It's also sometimes, sometimes is ask a question. You come to a yeshiva for an entrance exam, so the yeshiva says, say something. So sometimes yeshiva asks a question, and I said, you say something. So they said, okay, you say something. Amulei Boyat, you ask a question. Amalahu, hi man, the cuts kufra, my mishalim. Somebody what that cut down unripe figs. What should he pay for?
Yes, then.
He asked them. What should he pay? What's the mechuik to pay a person who cut down unripe figs? Amrulay, Mishal make kufra. So they said he should pay for unripe figs. So he said it's going to become tomorrow. Eventually, would have become tomorrow if he would have left it. So how come you're only letting him get away with paying for unripe figs? Would have become a full day. Amalei, so they gave in. Okay, Mishal made Tami. Okay, so let him pay for the full ripe fig. I'm sorry, date. Tamar is a date. Amalu v'halav Tami shakal minei, but it's not yet a date. So why should he pay so much? So he proved that he's Talmud Chacham, or at least they didn't know the answer. Amalei Emelanat. So what's the answer? You tell us. Amalu b'shishin, that how much it got depreciated with going with shishin. It's not too much, not too little. How much the tree was devalued because of the dates that it's missing. Also, not just that, but also shishin. Or how much shishin was worth now that if it would have had 60 and now it's only 59, how much is that package worth less? So they said who says like you? They maybe were impressed, but they wanted to know that he's for real. Does anybody hold like you? Amalu, Shmuel Chai, Shmuel's alive, and ask him. Usually when I say Shmuel Masi, here's a regular Shmuel, Shmuel Damora, Shmuel's around, and ask him. Or Bezdino Kaim, how much same lesson is over there? Shmuel Chai, Bezdino Kaim. So ask him. Show the
He's alive and his base maker.
his best manager is there, and go Bezdino, go ask him. Show the Kamei the Shmuel, Amalu, Shapir Kamalachu, B'Shishin. Shmuel said he's right. Shishin, B'Shavku, they let him go loose. Let him go free. They let him free.
What did he think that he was getting into trouble?
He was wearing black shoes.
Oh, this is his simon that he was a Talmud.
He was morning Yerushalayim. He said, who are you to morning Yerushalayim? So he said, no, I am a good person. Let's talk to him.
And the Gemara has a kasha that they wore black shoes in those days.
They
Also.
wear black shoes? Okay, so you got
Tyson
the hair.
Tyson has a kasha that you see many places they had wore black shoes. It was very known to wear black shoes. Tema, here come the debates. There's Mamish Gemara talking that they wore black
Everybody was
shoes.
wearing black shoes?
So yeah, so Tyson has a kasha. So Tyson has a terrace, which is pretty, I don't know, it's Dochav maybe. But Tyson says that they used to wear black shoes and white shoestrings.
Yeah, exactly.
The white laces.
Oh, but you're wearing
And
black
that was normal.
White laces.
Navnisa, you must have known this text before.
Wait a minute, that was the sign of a Talmud.
No, that was normal. That was normal
was normal.
shoes. But somebody wanted to more, and you put on black shoelaces, black laces.
We have it from.
I love watching the pictures of old Hasidus in the 1920s. There's not one person wearing a black hat.
They're all it's the negatives. It's the negatives.
It's right.
That the white is black and the black is white. They take the negative.
You see everybody only gray hats. Not one black hat. And all of a sudden became no. If somebody goes to the zoo with a gray hat, he's a guy. Nothing you're talking about.
In those days, it would have been you were what to wear because nobody else did. So it's you. Only Rosh Hashiva wore like that. Okay.
It changed.
So we got to do that.
At that time, only carried gray hats.
I mean, what would they have done if you had your hair?
They put him in jail.
Jail?
Yeah,
That's a jail.
They liked them.